Okay, so Blade is dead. Blade is dead, dead. It was mostly dead last week when Kevin Feige gave an interview saying how he felt not being able to get off the ground made him feel like a loser and a failure. But Mahershala Ali was still on record as saying, hey, they still have my number. But this week, promoting his new film, Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother, he said, no, I'm done with it. So it's definitely in the ground. A few people asked me about it. They've tagged me in other videos about it. So I guess my geek opinion has been requested. I was going to wait till I got a Blade shirt, but it wouldn't get here till Wednesday, and this feels time sensitive. It even had the quote on the back of skating uphill. But yeah, we're going to do this right now. And you know what? Should I watch this now? I got this at the beginning of the pandemic saying, yeah, I'm going to be home. I'm going to watch this whole thing. It's only 13 episodes. But I didn't. You know why? Because I started making videos for you people.
Huh? What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, you people?
Huh?
Now, when Kevin Feige made that statement about feeling like a loser and a failure, I got to give the man credit for some self-awareness because he's right on both points. Now, for me, Marvel faced two big problems in making a new Blade movie. The first was the fact that, unlike most Marvel movies, there's no famous, successful previous films to compare it to. There's no Iron Man before this. There are bad Captain America and a bad Doctor Strange movie, but it was called Dr. Mordred and released straight to video. But you get my point. There was nothing to compare it to. The second problem is, in my opinion, gets me in a lot of trouble, but most Marvel initial films are somewhat average. They're not bad, but they're just not all that good either. Like Thor, like Doctor Strange, like Captain Marvel, like The Eternals, and yes, like Black Panther for me. I know this is going to get me in trouble, but hell, it's August. How many more cookouts can I be uninvited to? They're somewhat mediocre. And I think Kevin Feige has self awareness to know this. So he has to know that we're making this movie that's going to be compared to not just one good movie, but two. And the second one was directed by now Oscar winning talent with a distinctive visual style, something no Marvel movie can really lay claim to all that much. And the first one has got iconic parts of it. That music, you hear that music, you know what's up. So, first of all, you're fighting that. And secondly, you're fighting your own tendency to make a somewhat mediocre product because you're trying to be too safe. And we can't go without saying you also run the risk of being compared to the third movie, which was disappointing. And you know they were going to go there first if you screwed anything up. So what seemed to be really easy and exciting in 2019 suddenly seemed like you were trying to ice skate uphill. Oh, and before you ask, there are only three Marvel initial character films that I think are good: Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Captain America. Captain America is like a BB plus, but Iron Man and Guardians of the Galaxy are straight A's for me. They're in my Marvel top five. Now, when I say I feel Kevin Feige is self-aware, I mean it, and I feel this is why he was so insistent that the MCU Blade be a period piece starting off. That would immediately separate it from the Wesley Snipes movies and make it more difficult to do comparisons. The problem is, and this is where the loser failure part comes in, they didn't want to pay period piece prices. You know, you want to go cheap, fine. Blade is not a heavy CGI character, but you don't want to pay for what a period film would cost. Now, in 1998, Blade was released and it cost $45 million dollars on its budget. Today, that's about $92 million. They wanted to cap the MCU Blade at about $90 million. Again, fine, you don't need a lot of special effects, but again, period pieces cost. And I feel this is why the first director left, the second director left, why they went through so many incarnations, because these people were trying to fit Kevin Feige's vision into a $90 million movie, and it just wasn't working. And please note, $90 million would have made it the cheapest MCU film ever made. Cheaper than Shang-Chi at 150, cheaper than Incredible Hulk at 137, and cheaper than Ant-Man at 130. You don't want to give an established, successful superhero as much money as you gave Ant-Man. And to top it off, you don't want to give an established, successful superhero the money you paid Robert Downey Jr. to come back for two movies. He's going to get about $100 million. They were capping at 90 for a whole to launch a whole franchise, but you can give this guy $100 million. If it weren't for them giving Shang-Chi $150 million, we would all be thinking the same thing. Why are you going cheap with the brothers? But yeah, this is where he was shooting himself in the foot because he would not let this period piece idea go. Now, if you're wondering how we know for a fact that there was going to be a period piece, that's because a lot of the costumes used in Sinners were bought from Disney Marvel after Blade stalled. They were designed by the same person, Ruth E. Carter. And speaking of Sinners, Now we get to when Blade died, and to hit it too hard on the head, it was Sinners that put the final stake in the heart of Blade. Think about it. Feige's plan was to make a period vampire movie. Then one of his directors, for lack of a better term, goes off and not only makes a vampire movie, not only makes a black vampire movie, not only makes a black period vampire movie, but it wins Oscars. It was over. Any Blade movie they tried to make now was going to be compared to Sinners, no matter what they did, especially if they went with Feige's original plan. Apparently, he finally gave up in the end on trying to make it a period piece, but it was too little too late. That's when it comes to him being a failure and a loser. If he just let it go, they could have done something that wouldn't have been like Sinners. But now there was no way you're going to avoid any kind of comparison to Sinners. So that was the end of the Blade reboot, in my opinion. Now, we all have a tendency to think that Feige is omnipotent when it comes to things Marvel, in terms of budgeting and casting and all that, but he does have a boss he has to report to. And for all we know, it was the boss who capped Blade at 90 million, but that doesn't absolve Feige for being so fixated on the period piece idea. So, in lieu of a Blade movie, Mahershala Ali and original director Mahershala Ali and Bassam Tariq, they were never going to give them that money. They were never going to give them hundreds of millions of dollars to make this movie. Oh, no. Who are we kidding? They were never going to give it to them. They were never going to give it to them. Anyway, they poured their frustrations into a movie called Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother. It's coming out next month. This is the interviews that Mahershala is giving now, where he talks about Blade. And it's a horrible title. Even though we know where it comes from the trailer, it's explained. If you're trying to sell a somewhat action movie about a hitman whooping ass through Houston, Your Mother, Your Mother is just not it. I'm sorry, it's not. For Mahershala, it gives him a chance to use the Marvel body that he developed when he thought he was going to be a superhero, and you get a lot of whoop ass going on. So it's kind of a middle finger to Marvel. Let's not pretend it isn't. But when talking about it, he gets a little pretentious when he says, "Oh, this is the kind of movie I prefer to make, not that other kind of film." Bro, you signed up for it. You signed up for it. You were happy to get that. You were happy to get that movie, get that paycheck that they would have given you. Not to mention, you did Green Book. You can look your nose down at nothing in this world, having done Green Book. That's always going to be on your permanent record. But he was right when he said they have $1 billion. If they wanted to make it, they would have made it. They would have given the money needed to make a period Blade, and they would have made it, but they didn't want to do it. Oh, Spider-Man. Spider-Man did have previous quality examples, in most opinion. I didn't care for any of the Spider-Man movies. But they were never worried about that. You know why? Because Spider-Man makes money. No matter what. No matter what. Amazing Spider-Man 2, the flop, still turned a profit. And they were about to make number 3 before the Marvel deal came along, and they got to reboot it. But make no mistake, they were not worried. As long as and not to mention, both Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man both ended on duds. 2 for Andrew Garfield and number 3 for Tobey Maguire. As long as they didn't make Peter weird or depressive, even by Peter Parker standards, they were going to do fine. Not to mention, they threw their $1 billion Iron Man in there to help out, and they soft launched him in Civil War, which again is what they need to do with Blade. Soft launch him somewhere else. You've got Doctor Strange, and you just made this big deal for Ghost Rider. Wonder how much his budget's going to be. Just introduce him that way. That would make more sense. Certainly not the way they did in the Eternals. We should have known then it was over. I mean, you don't see anyone asking Harry Styles about his MCU future, do you?
A man came to the prophet and asked, "Who is most beloved to us after you?" The prophet said, "Your mother." The man asked, "Then who?" The prophet said, "Your mother again." "Then who?" The prophet replied, "Your mother."
3 times?
Yeah. The man asked again, "Who is next?" And the prophet replied, "And then your father."